Jason Derulo and Shouse with Never Let You Go, and welcome back. It is the Country Viewpoint here on Flow FM on a Tuesday, and I recently spoke with Rhys Turton, who's the chair of GrainGrowers in Australia, and there's a roundtable happening next week which is going to focus on the profitability and productivity concerns for farmers in relation to a number of issues. So let's go to Rhys Turton now, who'll explain this further.
Look, next week we have pulled together a roundtable. I guess it's just sort of industry, organisational representatives, and of course the government as well. What we've been, experiencing as farmers, and of course hearing extensively from members, is just the cost and probably lack of availability of some certain key farm inputs. And we're specifically talking at this particular event around fertiliser, fuel, machinery parts, and crop protection products that the grain growers use in their normal production cycle of crops. And I guess we've seen over the COVID period and geopolitical events that have caused disruptions is just issues within the supply chain that have really put at risk the ability to source a lot of these products in a timely fashion. And of course that's also had a very significant impact on the price of those key inputs as well. So we've just identified that as a key risk to farmers in Australia, and we're looking to pull together this event just to work our way through it and see if we can come up with some, meaningful solutions from everybody within the room on the day.
Have you caught wind of any potential relief that might be on the way with regards to prices for various inputs? Because we've heard from an agronomist out of Walla in the Riverina that we may start to see fertiliser prices normalising after what's been a pretty hectic period with regards to the cost of fertiliser. So yes, it's very productive to have these kinds of roundtable meetings, but is there no sort of more short-term relief that might be in sight for some farmers that are pretty anxious over the things that you're going to be talking about at this roundtable?
Look, I'm hearing the same myself, Alison, just going through our sort of budgets and getting some prices pulled together, just for my own cropping program this year. There has been a reduction in a lot of those sort of key input prices. They are starting to come down. They're probably still significantly higher than what we would have seen over, say, the last 10-year average. But I think more significantly, it's been a bit of a learning process through this. We don't want to find ourselves in this situation again moving forward if there's further supply chain disruptions or other geopolitical events that could impact the availability of these sort of key farm inputs. So I guess in saying, yep, we're probably seeing that little bit of short-term relief coming through now, albeit prices that are higher than we have been, experiencing in normal seasons. But we're also just looking for, I guess, the opportunities to explore more domestic manufacturing and just try and have control of that supply chain somewhat, rather than just relying on purely on overseas imports all the time. So it's really, I guess, a risk management process for industry in working through how we can just de-risk that situation in the future.
Rhys Turton, the chair of GrainGrowers, he'll join me again after this short break. You're listening to the Country Viewpoint here on Flow FM. Song Trustfall, and welcome back. It's the Country Viewpoint here on Flow FM. We're talking about the peak body grain growers and the roundtable that'll be held next week to discuss profitability and productivity concerns for farmers right now with the current climate that we have in Australia, which is certainly providing challenges for many. So we'll go back now to the chat I had earlier on with the chair of GrainGrowers, Rhys Turton.
I'll give you a classic just a personal experience last week. I went into Perth to get a new stationary engine for an auger. I went to one of the major suppliers who supplies a major brand name for just a sort of 35 horsepower stationary engine. They're not available, and they've got no idea when their next shipment's coming in. So we're still getting that sort of tangible impact on farm around a lack of supply of inputs. And we saw that last year. And probably more importantly so for things like our crop protection products. just-in-time fertiliser deliveries, some machinery parts that I think there's people still waiting on certain machinery parts that were ordered, well back into last year. So it's just often on an individual basis that farmers are being affected. But of course, one machinery part can be absolutely critical to the operation of an individual farm. So the impacts are still being felt, albeit, you might say that key input prices are on the way down. But, just emphasising if there's a way to alleviate this in the future, that's really the conversations we want to have next week with those key players in the room.
So the roundtables are happening in Canberra on the 6th of March. The likes of Murray Watt, the Agriculture Minister, will be attending. Is there anything else you can tell our listeners about the event next week?
Look, that probably just emphasises the importance, or what we see as the importance of this particular roundtable. We will be having Minister Watt attend and speak, and I do believe he'll be, having some of his policy people there during the day just to hear the views in the room. It's significant. I think we probably got away, relatively well last year, albeit we paid a fortune for some of the inputs. But these sort of disruptions can be very, very serious, and we might find ourselves in a very different position in the future. So, just emphasising that it's important right up through to sort of senior government level.
I spoke with Zachary Wales some weeks ago about the pre-budget submission put out by GrainGrowers. Are there any comments you can attach to that yourself, Rhys?
No, not really else. I think Zach covered it very well. We thought it was actually a very good submission, just highlighting again what are the key points to industry that GrainGrowers wants to put forward to government. One of the key ones we've been pushing, and there has been an alliance formed, is around road and infrastructure funding. And I think, just the recent natural disaster events that have occurred right around Australia have just highlighted the importance of getting some significant funding for regional roads right throughout the country.
So tell us more about exactly what you're overseeing in WA right now.
WA, so this event is just the GRDC annual sort of updates for farmers and industry. So going through the research projects, innovation, anything that sort of came out of last year's RD&E programs, and it's really just a 2-day update for the attendees. So very big event. I think there's sort of 650 delegates floating around here today. So expecting to be enlightened by what's going on in the GRDC world.
As the Chair of GrainGrowers, Rhys Turton, there's plenty more coming your way on the Tuesday edition of the Country Viewpoint. Stay tuned. I'll see you back here shortly.